And joining us is Robert Bensick. Robert, thanks for coming.
Captain, I'd like to thank you for having me here. I got to tell you this, I got to get this out.
Go ahead.
I was devastated when I heard about you and Tennille. How you guys could break...
Wrong captain.
You guys were as funny as Mork and Mindy. What happened?
I don't know.
Huh?
She got tired of taking care of me. What can I say?
Okay. Now, the other thing, I'm a little confused. I originally emailed a company to be on a show called Porn the Magician.
Well, you got close. You know?
Okay.
But anyway, Robert, you've got an incredible past. And I've heard little bits and pieces of it through John and through a little bit of conversation we had before you came in. First of all, talk to me about Psych TV real quick. We're going to touch on that, and then I'm going to go back and I want to pick up a few 10, 20 years ago.
Okay. Well, we're taking it out of the lineal direction, but Psych TV is something I've been working on for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
Okay. After my music and art world, I got fed up and wanted to generate a bunch of money. So I went to Wall Street and got involved in the technology world as a venture capitalist. And one of the companies we bought into used artificial intelligence to do pre-hiring software. And as I flew back, I was the New York office, and I flew back and forth to Portland a bunch, where the Portland, Oregon, yeah, where the company was that we were building. And in talking to the PhDs that built this software, the software was interesting. It used artificial intelligence to run its pre-screening. And I said to the guys, I said, you could use this same system for making art, couldn't you?
Now, for most people out there, explain what artificial intelligence is.
It's Google it.
Right.
Artificial intelligence is basically software that functions as creatively as the human mind.
Right. And so when you say artificial intelligence, most people would think robot. Right.
No, it's just a software that enabled me as an artist to do some kind of magical things. I spent 5 years developing the software and about $300,000, and it finally worked. And basically, what it allows me to do, I'll give you a real easy one.
Right.
Okay, the hip hop people do the sampling, and the dance people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they sample a bunch of stuff and create new art with it.
Right.
Okay, a new art form. Well, my software literally samples my stuff. My master's degree was in art, and I had a career as a painter in New York and blah 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 after the rock and roll. But anyway, what the software allows me to do, it literally sampled all of my painting styles and drawing styles.
Wow.
And has memorized it. And I now can use a computer to paint for me. Literally, the mouse has become my paintbrush. I painted for probably 30 years. I still paint, but I mean, I was a showing artist, having one-man shows and stuff in New York in the 80s and 90s, but I decided to get rid of that, and the computer just grabbed me. Anyway, to make a long story short, the software allows me what would take six weeks to months to paint, I can now do in about 5 seconds.
Right.
And what I've done, I spent the last 15 years after developing the software creating a kind of massive library of images. I'm told.
Have you been developing a software yourself, or have you got a team of people that's working on it?
I used people, but I channel.
Real quick,
got a lot of the
let's get back to now the Wall Street thing. What year was this when you were in Wall Street and then things started turning around?
In the 90s.
Right.
The mid-90s, I was hopping along, but I was one of the guys during the tech crash that really crashed.
Wow.
It actually drove me into bankruptcy.
In the dot-com bubble.
Yeah. I was way overextended. I would have ended up being filthy rich. Instead, I lost a 10-room Victorian home and a fabulous art collection. And my retirement.
Unbelievable. So now, instead of living up in New York and commuting back and forth to Portland, you've moved down to Tampa.
Well, it was the only way I could keep a house, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it actually was a very intelligent move because it's allowed me to really focus. New York, it takes too much of your energy.
Yeah.
And
just to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I happen to also be a really avid gardener, and I got a third of an acre down here near the river. So it allows me to be creative in gardening, which balances, the many hours I spend at the computer. Like I was working 12 hours today.
Wow.
On the new video album. That's
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. And looking, is it posted somewhere that people can go take a look at it on the internet?
Absolutely not. You can go and read a little bit about it on LinkedIn, or you can go to Some Joy, which is the name I create my art under now. Well, actually, one of the names. I actually have 3 different names that I make art. On Facebook, if you go to Some Joy, you can see a few early images, but I decided to pull everything and not show anything because of Google grabbing things. And intellectual property is my game, so I do not want to release that.
So how do you plan on, what's your next step?
Well, right now, I've had a kind of ridiculous up and down life. When I was 16, I had a couple of hit records with a band in rock and roll. And then I got bored with the touring and went to art school and got a master's degree there. Was recording what was supposed to be my breakout. A lot of my friends became rather large stars. I'm one of the Cleveland crowd from the early to mid 70s. And I don't know. It's now called they're referring to it as the Liverpool of America. We were just a bunch of artists.
Cleveland?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Actually, I've been approached in the last year by 3 different writers writing books about it. Actually, and there's already been a number of books written about it because Perubu, on and on and on, the bands that came out of there.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 63. Actually, I'll be 64 in a couple
Wow.
of years.
So you grew up in Cleveland?
Actually, Sandusky, Ohio. The first band came from Sandusky, the Monks.
Right.
And we went to Cleveland. Our management was out of Cleveland. Our record company that signed us was out of Cleveland. And I ended up going there just because it was easier to live as we got bigger and bigger, touring and stuff. But anyway.
And what year was that? Was the Monks were there happening?
Let's see, I was 16, so it was 66 and 67.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you lived like in Sandusky. You've been to Cedar Point?
Oh, you could see the Ferris wheel from my bedroom window.
Wow. That was one of my favorite places in Ohio.
When Bruce Springsteen came out, his first album was my childhood. I mean, well, not my childhood, my teen years. I mean, Chasing the Girls Under the Boardwalk, the whole bit. Everything he sang about it was scary. It was what I lived.
Yeah, most people know that I was a pilot in my past life, and I did a lot of flying up in the Ohio area. And loved it. I loved Sandusky. And I got friends, a lot of friends that still live up there.
No, Sandusky.
Port Clinton. And,
Yeah.
Fremont. I got a lot of friends from Fremont, Ohio.
I'll tell you a funny story. One of the things that made me go into rock and roll, I was just, playing around with local bands. But when I got serious, when the Grasshoppers played in Lorain, Ohio, and their bass player was a fella named Ben Orr. And the Grasshoppers were from Cleveland, and they just blew me out of the water. It was like seeing the Beatles. Ben ended up becoming the bass player of the Cars years later.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's one of the guys that motivated me. And it's really funny because years later, then I had another band in the 1980, and every time Ben wasn't in the studio, because he's from Cleveland too,
right,
he would come to every show. And the joke is, I'd say, Ben, I need help with the. Can you get us with a label? Get us with a label. And friggin' Ben, God bless him, I loved him, but he was like, "Well, I don't know about that, man." I mean, he was kind of a little bit of an airhead.
Well, you know, one of the great things is about doing this show, especially we're reaching out to younger artists that are coming up. They get a chance to hear from guys like you about how the music business was back in the day. I mean, going back into the 60s, boy, you've seen a lot of changes.
It was really incredible. You could make a living. I mean, I was earning serious money when I was 14, playing out 5 nights a week. At 16, I was out earning my father with the hit record. You know, it's like, yeah.
Wow.
What was the name of the hit record that you had? What was the name of the hit record that you had?
The first one was Sometimes I Dream, and then we very creatively titled the next record Our Dream. And actually, Our Dream was just re-released, I think, a year ago by Warner Warner Asylum or something, Warner Brothers something, because I saw it on YouTube, and it's being called a psychedelic pop classic, which is hilarious because I was only 16 when we did that, you know. But now all of a sudden, everyone's checking out what happened in Cleveland in those years.
Our Dream.
Our Dream, yeah. If you YouTube it, and you'll hear it. It's there.
Go ahead, Trish. Let me see if your mic's working.
Yeah, I'm right here.
No, it's horrible.
Hello.
Let me see if I can play with something here and get them. I mean, we're having like gremlins in here. What is going on? Try it now. Check that mic.
All right.
No, it's still bad. It is still bad. Well, Robert, now you move on and you say you were an artist, so you go from music into did you always do your artwork while you were playing music? I mean, you always
of course, always. You know, which is, you know, really common. I mean, if you read half the Rolling Stones were in art school or doing art, and they're still doing art, and you know, a bunch of guys. You know?
Yeah, because when you went to college or you went to school, you took art, you took music, you took the liberal arts, and you know.
Yeah, I never took anything in music. I taught myself.
You did?
Yeah, when I was 10 years old, I asked my dad for a set of drumsticks, and
is that what you played, the drums?
I was a drummer in the Monks, yeah, and then I switched over to guitar and synthesizers and keyboards, etc., and singing for the solo album.
Wow, you've had an incredible life. Unbelievable.
It's been fun.
Wow.
It's been fun.
Yeah, so now you have more endeavors that you're going to push in front of you. Where's that going to take you?
Well, what happened, another buddy of mine is out in Hollywood and had a couple of Academy Awards for his work in music. Another Cleveland guy. And when we hit up again after not seeing each other for 30 years, we talked about everything we had done.
No.
And he says, "My God." We got feedback. What's that?
John, put that back where it was. Okay. Because it's howling through here.
Yeah.
It gains way too much.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep on talking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyway, what happened was he says, "My God, your life is a ridiculous story," you know, because the ups and downs. Because in between there, I had a construction company. I taught inner city school. I had a major art career in New York. Actually, Andy Warhol owned one of my pieces. He came to one of my one-man shows. It's a long story. And
Wow, we got plenty of time.
But anyway, so I've had this up and down thing, and I jokingly said to him, I said, yeah, because, you know, he's got his Academy Awards. I mean, everybody that was in Cleveland, a lot of them, well, Joe Walsh, I used to play with Joe Walsh all the time, Eric Carmen with the Raspberries, we used to double bill constantly, Mark Mothersbaugh, I'll tell you a funny story about Mark Mothersbaugh and Devo. Okay, we played in 1980, we played Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night for a year in the Flats in Cleveland, and we couldn't draw flies. This was another band I had called Berlin West. But anyway, the only good thing about that gig on Tuesday nights was when we were a two-man band like the Eurythmics,
right.
And so at least when we played, we had more in the audience because there were 4 in Devo. I mean, that's how bad it was.
Right.
We couldn't, And then right after that, they released Whip It and Zoom.
Wow.
Zoom.
Well, most people don't know that Devo had been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
They've been
yeah.
around since like '72, I think, when they were out of Cleveland.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And now one of them just passed away just recently. Which one was that? Do you know?
I don't know. Mark's still out. Mark's doing real well in Hollywood, doing soundtrack work.
They're great.
Yeah.
And they had a gimmick. You know what I mean? They seriously had a gimmick. And it worked for them. I remember the first time I ever saw them on Saturday Night Live. It was, back in their...
Oh, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. They were fabulous from day one. I loved playing with them, double billing with them. And I've always loved Mark's artwork. Actually, one Christmas he gave me this beautiful book, totally obnoxious book, but wonderful, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a very good artist.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the rest of it? Do they ever still get together or anything?
I don't know. I've had a bad history with, as soon as my friends hit it really big, they don't return my calls.
Well, see, now turnabout's fair play. So you're on the cutting edge. Listen, we're up against a break. We're going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk some more with Robert Bensick.